Bringing on in college football week 10 picks and preview Thursday night edition from us here at Beef Up Front on Pick Swap Media. Ryan Coyle, Joe Kmetz back for our weekly show. Had a pretty awesome slate of games last week. Some pretty crazy finishes. Alabama, South Carolina was a great game. LSU gets the doors blown off when Brian Kelly gets fired. I feel like college football has just been in the headlines week after week this year as maybe like the biggest story in sports each and every week, with all the coach firings, Vanderbilt, Georgia Tech being top 10 teams. It's been a pretty entertaining season. As we said last week, it kind of makes me want to throw up thinking that it's already week 10, but you're really getting into the games that matter now. Each and every week we're seeing elimination games. We got a big one on Saturday night with Oklahoma and Tennessee, both at 6-2. Loser of that game, I would say probably 95% chance is eliminated. Tennessee, I would say for sure. Oklahoma, if they lose this game and then they win out and go 9-3, maybe they get in because they have such a difficult schedule still. But a ton of great games to get into this weekend. Joe, is next week when the first college football official rankings come out for the bracket, or the following week? But
Tuesday.
Next
Tuesday's
Tuesday?
the first.
Okay.
This upcoming Tuesday is the first rankings show. Go through the top 12, all that stuff. I was at the bar earlier, and they showed the commercial about 8 times in a span of 2 minutes that the
Nice.
rankings are coming out on Tuesday. But this is the point of the season. Like you said, Halloween is tomorrow. We're recording this on Thursday night. On Saturday, it's already November. The football season's flying by. I know we say it every single year, but here we are in November. The games already have meant a lot. That's like the one thing. Even though it sucks that we're already at November, it's just every game is more and more important than the last. Every single game is just so high pressure, high intensity. We have another great slate of games this week, and I know some people are bummed out because like Ohio State, Penn State was supposed to be number 1 versus number 2. That game now we aren't even talking about that game. It's just crazy how quick that turned around. But you still have a lot of great quality matchups, and I'm really looking forward to this weekend.
Yeah, this was the one. I was listening to something earlier, but they were talking about like this was when the rankings came out like this summer. It was like, all right, November 1st, like don't bother me. We're not doing anything. I'm sitting on the couch that day, and now it was like South Carolina Ole Miss is this week. That was a ranked game. Florida Georgia was a ranked game. Penn State Ohio State. You said number 1 and number 3, I think. So
in the preseason, or 2-3, because Texas was one of the preseason.
One. Yeah. So a few of those games have fallen off, but to exchange that, you got some ones you probably weren't expecting to break down. We got Vandy, Texas to talk about. Cincy, Utah, Cincinnati off to a 7-1 start. Brendan Sorsby's been awesome. So you trade off some of these bigger time schools, bigger time programs, bigger time names, and you get some of these cool stories to talk about and break down. So we'll break down the top 5 games, and then G5 game of the week, maybe our G5 game of the season with Navy and North Texas, a pretty cool one there. But we'll start on Saturday with number 9 Vandy at 7-1. They travel to Austin to play number 20 Texas, 6-2. Texas keeps himself alive last week with that come from behind victory at Mississippi State. Noon kick on ABC. Texas 2.5-point favorite, over under 44.5. Arch Manning leaves the game late last week with a concussion. Does he play this week? Remains up in the air as of right now, but he has been limited in practice, I've seen. But if Arch plays or not, Joe, does that sway your decision in this game? And who do you think comes out on top?
I thought before when Arch Manning was I thought he was definitely going to go. I still liked Texas. Even if he doesn't go, I still am a fan of the Longhorns this weekend. So I am going with Texas 28, Vandy 17. So I'll take the Horns minus 2.5. I'm going to go over 44.5. I think Vanderbilt's the better team in Texas, but this is just one of those scheduling things. You're coming off of 2 really emotional wins at home, ranked teams, nationally broadcast games, both by a touchdown each. I know, Texas at the same time winning back-to-back overtime games, but Texas coming home, Vandy going on the road. I think Texas is honestly at this point maybe a step up from LSU and Missouri. LSU is falling apart as we see. LSU, who the hell knows how that's going to end out with Brian Kelly getting fired. And Missouri is good, but they're kind of like same old Mizzou. They're going to beat the teams they're supposed to beat. They're going to lose the teams they're supposed to lose to. So that just being said, I'm going to go with Texas over Vandy, but this loss will not in any way eliminate Vandy from the playoff. I mean, you're going to have, back-to-back home games after that against Auburn and Kentucky. And then you're going to have what could be a playoff game between Vandy and Tennessee at the end of the season.
Yeah, that I was talking about that with the guys the other night, where that could be, a winning game for Vandy and Tennessee. That would be pretty cool if we got to that stage of the season. I'm going to go with Texas in this one. Whether Arch plays or not in this game, or it's the backup quarterback, I'm going to go with Texas here at home. I think the line's telling you to take that, but Vandy has been great against the spread as an underdog. They've won a lot of games outright too as an underdog with this Clark Lee, Diego Pavia kind of matchup. Out of all the games this week that we're picking, this is probably the one I'm least confident in. So if you're going to take any of my plays, I would probably stay away from this one because I do think this one is a coin flip. I think it's plain and simple. Texas -2.5 as the home team. But I do think that this Texas offense maybe looks a little bit different with a new quarterback in there. But I do think Arch, I know they were playing from behind last week, but I thought that he looked his best last week, at least statistically, against a power conference team. I know Mississippi State isn't the greatest team in the world, but at the end of the day, he still was going out there, putting up some points, putting up a lot of yards, and helped engineer that comeback victory. And the backup got it done at the end of the day. So this Texas defense is still legit. I think it's the best defense that Vandy's going to play the rest of the season, probably the best defense that they've played. But I do think that the ability of Diego Pavia to extend plays on third down is going to help them stay in this game. But I'm just going to go with Texas at home in this one. I think it means more to them. I think Vandy, they lose this one and win out, probably still gets in. I think they're sitting at +125 to make it as of today. But I'm going to go with Texas to win here, 27-24, Texas -2.5, over 44.5. All right, we go to the ACC now. Number 10, Miami at 6-1. They'll travel to SMU at 5-3, who lost on a walk-off field goal last week to Wake Forest. Maybe a look-ahead spot for them. 12 o'clock kick on ESPN. Miami, 10.5-point favorite, over under 50.5. Any chance that Miami slips up here again, Joe, against SMU?
Oh, excuse me. I don't believe they'll slip up. I think Miami had their loss against Louisville. They're better than we expected in the preseason. This is still not an easy game. I think the spread is a little high, so I'm going to take SMU to cover. I'm going to go Miami 42, SMU 33. So I'll take SMU to cover the 10.5. I'm going to go with the over. I really love the over in this game. But going on the road, I mean, we've seen SMU when they have the big games like last year. I know Florida State was bad, but when they hosted that Florida State game, it was a sellout. The crowd was incredible. The fans are really going to be into it, even though it's a noon kick. I think obviously if SMU didn't drop a couple games earlier, this game would be a little bit later at night. But I think this will be one of those games. While I don't see Miami slipping up, you might see fourth quarter Miami either down or close, and you'll see the siren emoji, the head exploding emoji from ESPN telling you to tune in. But I think Miami will score a touchdown late, pull away, win the game. I just keep rolling on here. I think Miami is in a really good spot right now, especially if they do survive SMU. I don't know why my phone haven't moved it at all. It's just turning sideways on me now. But I just think Miami's in a really good spot. After this, you got Cuse and NC State at home. Virginia Tech has been not very good. I know you're going to Virginia Tech, but right now Virginia Tech's 3-5. The one game left, if they can get through this, that's very interesting. Right now, Pitt is in third place in the ACC. Granted, they've already played 5 conference games to Miami's 3, but right now it's Georgia Tech, Virginia, Pitt as the top 3 in the ACC. That game on the road, Pitt, I know, has a game against Notre Dame, I think the week before that. Pitt has a crazy back-to-back home games. But that could be a potential slip-up spot for Miami. I remember that team, was it 2017, Coyle, that Miami team that started 11-0? Then they lost at Pitt to end the season, lost the ACC title game, then lost their bowl game, and they went from number 2 in the country to, I don't think they were unranked, but they were like pretty low in the rankings to end the season. I don't think that's going to happen to Miami, but if they get through this game, they'll be looking pretty good, even if they do trip up against Pitt to make the playoff.
Yeah, Miami is definitely in a good spot, but this is what we've said about Miami before. You just touched on it, how they kind of fell apart down the stretch. a handful of years ago and even last year, they start out 9-0 and fall apart down the stretch. And I think it's when Miami kind of gets comfortable and then they play a team that is talented. Like SMU is not as good as they were last year, but still it's a talented team that if Miami doesn't show up, and especially on the road here, it could be a game that they slip up. We saw Louisville take it to them already, and I think that Louisville team is damn good. Like if we get Louisville in the ACC title game, if Louisville makes a playoff, I would put them like up. That performance against Miami a few weeks ago from Louisville was as impressive of a performance as I've seen from any team in the country on both sides of the ball. Miller Moss played great. They had electric playmakers at the receiver spot, at the running back spot, guys that could go and make plays with the balls in their hand. That defense was flying around, hitting, causing turnovers on Carson Beck. If that Louisville team is clicking, side tangent here on them, I would put them just up against anyone when they're playing at their best. And I think they could hang with any of those teams from the Big Ten and the SEC. Would they win the college football playoff? I'm not saying that, but I think they could definitely make some competitive games. And, I think they actually might be the best overall team there in the ACC. So I don't really know how much it is to say about Miami, but Miami has been known to slip up kind of in these spots before. So I definitely would say to be cautious. If you think Miami's a slam dunk on the money line this weekend, to throw them in your parlays as an extra leg. I think they're going to still find a way to win the game, but I do think SMU gives them a scare. I'm going to go Miami 31-24. So SMU plus 10.5 and the over of 50.5. All right, fun one here, Joe. Our G5 game of the week, maybe the best G5 game we've covered this year. Navy at 7-0 at North Texas, who is 7-1. North Texas quarterback last week threw for over 600 yards. Pretty awesome story there. Noon kick on ESPN2. North Texas 5.5 point favorite, over under 63.5.
I am going with Navy here. I just can't pick against the Service Academy. I think Navy's going to win a high-scoring game, 42-37. I'm going to take them plus the 5.5. I'm going to go over 63.5. I think that's one regardless, even if North Texas wins. Just the way Navy, runs that option, they definitely become more like they pass a little bit more out of it. I'm not saying they're like a full-on spread team now, but they've definitely kind of evolved the option into the modern day a little bit. We've seen Navy these past couple of years. They've definitely improved. I mean, obviously having Blake Horvath at quarterback is still really, really, huge for them. He's a senior this year. Is this his last year, or does he have one more year redshirt wise?
Not sure exactly. You can't really. I think
Or
we're
no?
still probably a couple years out from actually deciding if these guys are 4-year players or not. There's still
Yeah.
these waivers and everything.
That is true, but I mean, what Navy has done over these past couple of years has been so impressive, especially after they fired Niumatalolo, however you say his name. He was there at Navy forever. I thought Navy was going to fall off. They did not. They've been very impressive. 7-0. I think they started 7-0 last year as well, or at the very least like 6-0. Then lost that game to Notre Dame. But I'm going with Navy here. I think the midshipmen are a fantastic football team, and North Texas is going to really have their hands full with that option. I know them, being at home is huge, but we saw what happened when North Texas took a step up in weight class. USF embarrassed them at their home on Friday night. That was a big game. We covered that game as well. And don't get me wrong, since then they bounced back and they did what a good team is supposed to do to UTSA and Charlotte. But I think Navy is a pretty good football team. And I just think that, once again, you're going to see UTSA, excuse me, North Texas take that step up in weight class. I think they're going to be better prepared for it, but I still think Navy will be able to hold them off late.
Yeah, I think this is an exciting one. I think this is a fun one. I love the over in this game. I think we see another track meet. North Texas with their quarterback last week putting up over 600 yards. And you touched on it too. Navy, they've modernized the offense a little bit. They throw the ball definitely more than they have in the past, but still that running game is lethal. It's hard to prepare for. I don't really see either of these teams stopping each other in this one. So I love the over 63.5, one of my favorite plays of the week. With these two squads, two of the more high-powered offenses in the entire country. With that being said, though, I'm going to take North Texas to win and cover at home. Navy, when you look at their strength of schedule, I think I saw this week was like 118th easiest schedule so far in the country out of how many FBS teams are there, Joe?
Like 136, I think.
Yeah, somewhere in there. So Navy, one of the easiest schedules in the country. I think this is by far the toughest opponent they've played yet. Navy too, a 2-point, getting the 2-point conversion at Temple away from already having a loss, and Temple actually being right there at the top of the AAC. But I like North Texas to win this one, 40-34. North Texas minus 5.5 and over 63.5. All right, we go to the elimination game now. 95% chance of an elimination game. I'd still give Oklahoma a bit of a chance if they win. But number 18, Oklahoma at 6-2. At number 14, Tennessee 6-2. Tennessee loses. I think they're definitely out. 7:30 kick on ABC. Tennessee 3.5-point favorite here at home. Over under is 56.5.
I'm going with Tennessee here, 35-31. I think the Vols will cover 3.5. And I'm going to take the over as well. I think Tennessee, this game being at Tennessee is so huge. It's the blackout game. We were at the blackout game last year for Tennessee, Kentucky against a not very good Kentucky team. And that was one of, if not the craziest environments I've ever been in sport-wise. I can't imagine how crazy it's going to be this year, with Oklahoma being at 6-2. I really like Tennessee. I love Aguilar. I'm very impressed with how they were able to right the ship. We thought they were going to be, I don't want to say dumpster fire, but everything that happened with Nico, we definitely thought Tennessee was going to be in some trouble. They've been really well. Heupel going up against his alma mater. I think this game is going to be a little more personal to him. So I think Tennessee ends up covering me here and winning the game. I'm going to go 35-31. I'll take the over as well.
I really like Oklahoma to cover in this one. As we talked about, this is an elimination game, I think, for both teams. So you're going to be getting their best effort put forward. And Oklahoma, say what you want about them over the past couple of weeks, dropping some games. They're still a tough team. That defense is still going to help them stay within games. Can John Mateer look like the old version of John Mateer that we saw over the first few weeks of the season before injury? I think that's the big thing in this one. In Oklahoma's defense, can they be that elite bunch that we saw in the early parts of the season? Because Joey Aguilar, he's been a great addition for Tennessee. He's been an awesome player in the SEC this season, but his MO at Appalachian State was turnovers, and he hasn't completely cleaned up that issue this year. Can Oklahoma force a couple turnovers in this one and give them some extra possessions, give them a few more chances? I think that they have the capability of doing that. I do like them to cover that 3.5, though. I really like the hook in that one. Give me that, but I will take the Vols to win it 31-28. I think that home field advantage kind of just pushes them over the top. So give me Tennessee 31-28, Oklahoma plus 3.5 over 56.5. All right, we go to the Big Ten now. Number 23, USC at 5-2 at Nebraska, who's 6-2, 7:30 kick on NBC. USC 6.5-point favorite. Over under is 58.5. Joe, elimination game for both of these teams, I would say as well.
Oh, for sure. I would make an argument. I don't want to say that Nebraska's already eliminated, but they definitely have a bigger hill to climb than even if USC loses this game. I know they'd be sitting at 5-3, but they still have Oregon later in the year. Like, I think USC has enough on the plate to, even if they were to lose this game, still be able to go out, maybe make a run at a playoff spot or at least a Big Ten spot. 'Cause that's the thing. If they lose this game, that would only be their second conference loss. No, actually, that's stupid. Forgot about Indiana for a second, which is hard to do nowadays. But they'd be out of the race in terms of that. But they would still be alive for a playoff spot, maybe getting one of those last, like the 11-12 seed, depending on how the conference champs rank up. But I'm going with Nebraska here at home, primarily because at one point, Matt Rule is going to have to get like a signature win. I think he beat Illinois last year when Illinois was ranked at home. Like, beating USC is a big name. I know they're 23. I know they're good, but not an incredible team. But he eventually just has to get something done. He had his chance against Michigan. They lost. And people were saying, Matt Rule, year 3. A lot of people were saying, Nebraska was going to have a great year. I saw people picking Nebraska to make the playoff. I certainly thought Nebraska was going to be pretty good. 6-2 isn't bad. But, I mean, if you look at their schedule, they've more so just taken care of business. I think that win against Cincinnati is looking a little bit better. But I think if you, match those teams up today, you're kind of seeing Cincinnati, since that loss has been going up. Nebraska, not necessarily going down, but has been pretty stagnant. With that being said, I'm going with Nebraska here, 21-17. I think it's going to be a low-scoring, ugly game. I'm going to go Nebraska plus 6.5. I love that regardless, even if USC does come out and win this game. I'm going to go with the under 58.5. Like, I don't know. I think USC is good. I don't think Nebraska is necessarily bad, but I just think at one point, not really heavy-hitting analysis here. At one point, Matt Rule is going to have to just get that win at Nebraska where people say, oh, my God, it's actually working. It's not just, Matt Rule had fun at Baylor and Temple, and we're just expecting him to have it click at Nebraska. So I think they're going to have to get a win. I think that's a fan base that is starving for a win, a big win, especially like this primetime NBC. It's still the name, USC, and they got a number next to their name. And I think that's, going to be enough. Nebraska's going to pull some foo-foo shit and win this game low scoring, 21-17. Going to be a slugfest till the end. Maybe we get like a fourth down stop in the red zone. Nebraska, USC's got to score a touchdown to win it. But I'm going to go with Nebraska here to win the game.
I'm going to go with Nebraska to win this game outright too, Joe. I think it's a big weekend here for Nebraska. Matt Rule officially signs this new extension, puts that Penn State noise to rest. I think that could have affected the team a couple weeks ago against Minnesota, if we're being honest. But I think Nebraska, you touched on it best. They need a signature win. Like, you can say a team like Indiana where, they were able to get right back in the mix and be competitive at the top of the Big Ten, go to the college football playoff. Like, you can look at a team like Nebraska and be like, why aren't you able to do the same thing? Matt Rule talking about the build and everything. Like, if we look at his track record and his resume, he's a good coach. He's won, but how much has he really won at the highest level? He hasn't gotten these teams over the top. He hasn't nearly gotten them where Indiana is with Kirk Cignetti during any of these rebuilds that he's had. He's a good rebuilder, but can he get you back up over the top? Can he get Nebraska back to a national powerhouse? That's his goal. That's what he set out to do. I think you got to start putting, the actions out there on the field with what you're saying at your press conferences and your team meetings and whatnot. So I think this is kind of a put up or shut up type of game for Nebraska against a USC team traveling from West to the Midwest. All those Big Ten teams have really struggled in that travel. I'm going to go with Nebraska to win this one outright. Plus 6.5, definitely like that. And I'm going to go Nebraska 27-24 night game at Husker Stadium. I'm going to take the Cornhuskers here. Plus 6.5, under 58.5. All right, final game of the week, the college game day game of the week. And the beauty of college football, Joe, at the beginning of the season, we talked about, or even this week alone, like, okay, Vandy, Texas, pretty solid. Miami, SMU is probably looked at as a ranked game. Oklahoma, Tennessee, definitely Penn State, Ohio State, South Carolina, Ole Miss. But this week, we get college game day going to Cincinnati at Utah. No one expected to see that. Number 17, Cincinnati at 7-1. Only loss in that first game of the year was at Nebraska. They'll travel to number 24, Utah, who's 6-2. 10:15 kick on ESPN. Utah, minus 7.5. Over under is 57.5, Joe. Big number there.
Yeah, I'm going Utah. I'm taking them big, 42-20. I think Utah's going to cover that 7.5. I'm going with the over. This is mainly just I have learned my lesson picking against Utah at night. Coyle, back when we were in college together in 2019, Oregon, when they were rolling, I thought they were going to beat Utah at Utah. I picked them to win, and Utah steamrolled them. I think I don't remember where we were. We were at some party watching the game and just laughing because Utah just kept scoring at will and dominated Oregon. And you have a big chance now, if you're Utah, you're sitting here at 3-2. This is, we've been talking about a lot of elimination games and stuff. This is an elimination game for Utah. Tough rivalry loss to BYU, who's currently sitting at 8-0, number one in the conference. I think they're like 11th in the country. And they lost to Texas Tech, who's also a pretty good team in the Big 12. But if you're Utah and you want to have a shot at this thing, you have to run the table. And getting a team ranked 17th in the country, who knows where the rankings will go on Tuesday when the playoff committee comes out. But this is a huge opportunity for you. I think that Devin Dampier is a pretty good quarterback. He's kind of slowed down from that hot start. We kind of realized what UCLA was with their former head coach. So, that buzz has kind of slowed down a bit. I still think he's a good quarterback. But Cincinnati, ultimately, when I look at their schedule, I know they're 7-1, but their stretch of games, they haven't really beaten anyone. Like Iowa State was their biggest win at home when they were 14th in the country. We've seen Iowa State now is kind of cratered a little bit. They're sitting at 5-3. After that, UCF, Oklahoma State, Baylor. And their other wins are at Kansas and then Northwestern State and Bowling Green. I think Utah's a step up in competition for them, especially going on the road. I think this is a really tough place to play. Game day, 10:15. I was kind of just talking about it with Nebraska. All eyes are going to be on this game. I think Utah's going to win this game big. And I think it's not really going to be close. I think it's going to be one of those games you look up, kind of like how Utah just smoked Colorado last week. This is going to be another one of those like, oh, wow, Cincinnati was really in over their heads in this game.
Yeah, the old saying, "Don't bet against Utah at night." I'm going to go against it here. I'm going to take Cincinnati to cover. I will take Utah to win, but I think the Cincinnati team is stingy. I don't think they've gotten the national love and respect that they deserve. Brendan Sorsby has been one of the best quarterbacks in the country this year, and I don't think he's going to be in the Heisman conversation at the end of the day. But if Cincinnati keeps winning and they're in the mix there for the Big 12, he's definitely going to have a seat at the table to potentially go to New York. But I think the beauty of the Big 12 is like, okay, we expected Utah to be one of the top teams. We expected Arizona State with their key guys back to be one of the top teams, but we called it kind of the conference of mystery and a lot of unknown. And I don't think anyone pegs Cincinnati as a team that would make a run and be sitting here at 7-1. I think their over under going into the season was either 3.5 or 4.5 wins. And here they are sitting at 7, potential to go to 8 and literally undefeated in the Big 12. Win out, you're in the Big 12 title game. So just the beauty of the Big 12 this year, the beauty of kind of this conference and the fun games that it provides. But I do think that they dropped their first Big 12 game in this one. I like Utah to win it at home, but I will take Cincinnati to cover. I think we get a fun one back and forth, 30-27. So Cincy plus 7.5 and the under of 57.5 hit in there by the hook. All right. Final picks of the day are the week, the dog of the day, our favorite underdog of the week, and our lock of the week. My dog of the day last week, Minnesota plus 7.5, ran out of the gym by the Iowa Hawkeyes 41-3. This week, my dog of the day, they were my lock of the week last week. They come up short in overtime, win outright, but they failed to cover the spread. I'm taking them as my dog of the day this week. Temple, the Owls, plus 5.5 at home versus East Carolina. I don't know why the bookmakers continue to disrespect Temple. They've been awesome all year. They don't cover last week after giving up a touchdown late in overtime. Still find a way to win. They're at home this week, one of the bigger home games in Temple football in recent memory. The chance to go bowling to get their 6th win and be a bowl eligible team for the first time in forever. I love Temple plus 5.5 at home this week versus East Carolina, and I think they win that game outright as well.
Yeah, shout out Temple. Your Temple's coach, I forget his name. He's the current
Casey
active
Keeler.
winning. Yes, Mr. Keeler's the active winningest head coach in college football right now.
Mm-hmm.
Which is very funny to see that Temple has that guy as their coach. I mean, it's been a great hire. Temple's been great this year.
He's kind of like a
especially
Signetti type where he's like, if you look at his history, he's bounced around. He was at like Rowan, he was at Delaware, Sam Houston State. Now he's at Temple and he's older. He's like 64, 65. Is he a guy that, like a Big 12 school or an ACC school wants to take a chance on? Maybe, but it's been a cool kind of season for Temple, who has been one of the laughing stocks of college football over the past few years after having a really nice run just a handful of years ago. If they were able to get to a bowl game, that would be pretty cool for a team. I think their win total was like 3.5 this year.
that'd be huge. I mean, Temple, like you were just saying, like they've been bad for a long time. I know they had that run with Matt Rule and Matakevich, like 10 years ago. They were, I still remember as a Notre Dame fan, Notre Dame playing at Temple. I think it was 10 years. I think it was 2015. And almost losing that game. It's cool to see Temple kind of on the come up a little bit. But I'm going to go Cal plus 5.5 as my dog of the day here. I just think Virginia's devil magic has to run out at some point. They've been skating by these last couple of weeks. I mean, their last 4 games, double overtime against FSU, Louisville in overtime. They beat Washington State by 2 on a safety late in the game. And then North Carolina, they just beat in overtime. I think Virginia, at some point, that magic's going to run out. It's only natural when you have a team playing like that. So I am going to go with Cal to cover the 5.5.
Yeah, they have been on a pretty wild run. You look at like Arizona State last year, all the games that they won by like one possession, they're kind of fitting that description as well. But they're undefeated in the ACC because their only loss was NC State, and that wasn't a conference game, right?
Yes, that game was scheduled as a non-conference game. So they're currently 4-0. If the ACC title game was today, it's Georgia Tech and Virginia.
Wow. Awesome.
Insane.
Lock of the week time, our favorite bet of the week. I'm going to go with an over here. Over 62.5 in the UNLV New Mexico game. Watched UNLV a few weeks ago under Dan Mullen. They're able to obviously put up points, but their defense couldn't stop a nosebleed against Boise State a handful of weeks ago. New Mexico, they've been putting up some points in their own right this season. I think these two squads go back and forth. This game is probably played in the upper 30s, maybe lower 40s even. But I like the over of 62.5 there for my lock of the week in UNLV in New Mexico. Little Mountain West action.
New Mexico's been awesome under Jason Eck. I mean, they've another team, talk about like from the wastelands of college football
Yeah.
that have, last year, um, Bronco Mendenhall came back. Now he's at Utah State, but took New Mexico with Devin Dampier to a bowl game. Now New Mexico's been pretty solid again this year. That's actually a pretty big game out in the Mountain West as well. But anyways, I'm going to Tennessee minus 3.5 is my lock of the week. And I'm saying 3.5 because that's what the line was for the show. So I'm going to take that as my lock of the week. I bet it at 2.5. I was able to get it at 2.5. But for the purpose of the show, lock of the week is Tennessee minus 3.5. Think blackout night at Rocky Top. I think that environment's going to be crazy. I think Oklahoma, last week against Ole Miss, they had a chance at home, couldn't get it done. I think Oklahoma, you're going to look at one of those teams at the end of the season. They'll probably make a bowl game, but I don't think Oklahoma is as good as that ranking says they are. I think Oklahoma's going to lose this game. I think I had it by 4. I think it's going to be close because I don't know how great Tennessee really is, but I think this is more so just I believe in Tennessee more than I believe in Oklahoma.
All right, well, that'll wrap it up. Week 10 here in the books already. Pretty wild to say that. But next week will be fun. We'll, as always, break down our games of the week, and we'll have our first look at the bracket. So we'll get the bracket up on the screen. Hopefully we can go try and make next Tuesday work, maybe right after the first 12-team projection plays out. But we're going to see a lot of interesting stuff. Does Vandy, lose to Texas this week and they fall out of the top 12? Miami, if they lose, I think Miami might fall all the way down into the 20s. The Oklahoma-Tennessee winner, does one of those teams vault up into the top 12? Cincinnati, hell, if they go to Utah and win, are they in the top 12? Are they maybe even the team there out of the Big 12? Remains to be seen, but going to be some fun things to discuss next week. And then I haven't looked at the schedule for next week, but I assume still a handful of good games. So as always, everyone, thank you for tuning in. Go enjoy some Thursday night football, NFL, college. As always, please like, please subscribe, and we'll talk next week.